You keep telling yourself you'll start tomorrow, but days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months. You want to become a filmmaker, yet something's holding you back. Maybe it's the fear of failure, or maybe you're overwhelmed by where to start. The truth is this: you can start practicing cinematography right now by yourself and actually grow your skills without the need for a big crew or even expensive equipment. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the practical steps you can use today in order to start creating shots that actually feel cinematic. All right, so let's talk about the first thing every filmmaker stresses over: the gear. The first challenge for many filmmakers, especially in the beginning, is gear. You're probably thinking, I need a better camera, or if only I had this one specific light, my shots would be better. But that's just not true, which is a good thing. Some of my favorite work that I've made personally was with just simple, basic gear. And that's because the magic came from the creative choices that were made, not necessarily the gear I was using. Starting with what you have today will teach you to focus on technique and how to come up with creative solutions to problems rather than relying on your gear. Now, with that said, this is filmmaking after all, so there are pieces of equipment that you do need in order to start practicing cinematography. So I'm going to separate this into two groups, that being the essentials, the things that you absolutely need to have to start practicing, and the nice to haves, the things that you don't necessarily need. So the first essential piece of equipment that you'll need is, of course, a camera. Now, nobody likes this answer, but the best camera to start with is the one you already have, even if it's just your phone. This gets repeated over and over by people, including myself, because it's true, and I'm not just saying that for the sake of this video. You'll also need a tripod. This doesn't have to be an expensive one, so don't overthink it. Even a cheap one will work for just practice. And the final piece of essential gear, it's kind of teetering between an essential and just a nice to have, but it's a way to monitor your shots. Lots of cameras this day and age have Bluetooth or even Wi-Fi that will allow you to connect your phone to your camera, and you can use your phone as a monitor. Lots of cameras also have a little flip screen that you can turn around so you can see yourself, but this one can be really difficult to see from a distance, and built-in LCD screens on cameras are really not that great. And if you're using the camera that's built into your phone, there are these little mini external monitors you can place onto the back of your phone, like this one from SmallRig. For the first nice to have, we have lights. This may be surprising to you to hear lights as a nice to have and not an essential. And if you have some lights, then that's fantastic. But if you don't stress about it. And finally, if you plan on recording audio, you'll need a microphone. Now, audio is a beast all on its own, so maybe start with your visuals before going too deep into this. But if you need sound, just a basic shotgun microphone can go a long way. Once you have the essentials, you can film yourself anytime without having to rely on someone else to help you. Removing that barrier allows you to practice more consistently, and essentially you'll grow way faster. When you're practicing alone, and chances are you will be, you've got two choices. Number one, shoot nothing at all. Or number two, get in front of the camera yourself. Now, before you say, absolutely not, there's not a chance I'm going to get in front of the camera and click off this video, just hear me out. Shooting quote unquote cinematic B-roll of objects or landscapes is fun, and it has its place. However, being a cinematographer is about telling stories. And more often than not, these stories are about people. So you need to understand and know how best to film people in order to tell these stories as effectively as possible. If you have a friend or someone that's willing to be a subject for you, that's fantastic. But if you don't, just film yourself. And it's not like you have to necessarily perform in front of the camera like an actor would, but I mean, you could if you wanted to. And it might feel awkward at first, and by might, I mean it will be. But it will accelerate your growth faster because you're not waiting around all the time for someone to come and help you. So I'm curious, have you ever put yourself in front of the camera just to practice your cinematography? And if you have, did you enjoy the experience, or did you find it beneficial? Let me know down in the comments. Now that you have the gear and you're mentally prepared to be on camera, it's time to make a plan. More often than not, going into a shoot blind will only waste your time and leave you frustrated. One of my favorite quotes is by Benjamin Franklin, which is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So what does planning actually look like for filming yourself? First, start with a goal. Simply ask yourself, what am I trying to create? Do I want to recreate a shot from a movie, or am I practicing composition? Just keep it simple and give yourself a clear goal. And here's something that will help a ton. Figure out what you like, and more importantly, why you like it. Watch your favorite movies or TV shows and pause them when a shot grabs your attention. Then ask yourself, why do I like this? Is it the lens, the framing, the way it's lit? Websites like ShotDeck, for example, are a great resource for this. They can give you information on the camera that was used, the lenses, the type of lighting, and a whole bunch of information you probably don't need, but it's cool to see. And this is what I personally use for shot references. You can even take this one step further and write down notes as you watch your movies. If you do that, you'll begin to see patterns and get a better idea of what you like visually. So when you plan, keep it simple. Pick a look, pick a subject, pick one thing to practice, and always come back to the why. The why is what separates a videographer from a cinematographer. By the way, if you're serious about becoming the filmmaker you've always wanted to be, make sure to hit subscribe, because I'm always breaking this stuff down in simple, practical ways you can apply on your own shoots. Now let's talk about expectations. When you first start filming yourself, you're not going to recreate a big budget movie with a budget of $0 in your bedroom. And that's completely normal. So choose scenes or just a single shot you can realistically recreate. Then with experience, you can add complexity. That way, instead of being frustrated all the time, you can actually start learning. If your location is boring, that's okay too. I feel like most of the places I shoot are boring. Find ways to spice it up. Use practicals like lamps, have interesting slashes of light coming into your scene through blinds, for example, whatever you have to do. And don't be afraid to move objects around or just add small props here and there. Being realistic saves you from disappointment and builds confidence. And confidence matters way more than chasing perfection. At the end of the day, filmmaking is about practice, not just running around shooting random stuff, but purposeful exercises that work. So here are a few you can try right away. Recreate a shot from a movie you love. Pick one frame, study it, and see how close you can replicate it with what you have. You can try a one light challenge. So use a single light or even just a window with natural light and see how many different moods you can create just by moving your light around or moving your subject around in a space. You can even do a composition drill by filming yourself in 3 different ways. First, the rule of thirds, then place yourself in the center of the frame, and finally at the edge of the frame. And then what I want you to do is notice how each different composition changes the feeling of the shot. You can even try shooting on the shadow side of your subject. And to me, this is arguably one of the fastest and easiest ways to get a cinematic image. It simply means shooting on the opposite side of your light source. So I want you to do that and see the difference. Or you can do the most stressful exercise of all, which is a time challenge. So give yourself 10, 20, or even 30 minutes to set up and shoot something. This is helpful because it recreates the pressure you can have on sets by forcing you to make decisions quickly because you quite literally don't have time to overthink it. And finally, learn from the best. Social media is great for quick ideas, but if you want to improve your cinematography, study movies and study the works of other cinematographers. Think about why different shots work, research or even ask the cinematographer about their process, and practice recreating those looks. Remember this, creativity is a skill. I used to say I'm not a creative person, and honestly at the time I wasn't, but creativity grows with repetition and practice. You don't need perfect gear or a big crew to start practicing cinematography. All you need to do is start, even if it's just with yourself. So pick a goal, study your reference image, set up your camera, and create something. Literally anything. The more you practice, the closer you'll get to becoming the filmmaker you've always wanted to become. These exercises will make you a stronger cinematographer, but the real challenge is pulling everything together into a complete story. That's what I cover in this video on how to shoot a short film by yourself. So if you want to see the process, check it out.